If you raise ducks, it don't matter how many you raise, they're all on the same first name, Rose.
Ducks are
They're not my favorite. They're so gross. They ruin the food. I have to obviously have to water. Have the smallest source of water and they will make the biggest mess. Okay.
yeah, ducks.
We don't like ducks.
What kind of horses did
We have 4 horses. I have 4 cross.
Hello, everyone.
No.
You wish. You wish.
one or 2 times a guy died?
Nice try there.
Where are you going?
We went up, we go on their Williston and Toby has a week long ride.
Can you hear me now? Ah.
Plan up there, whiter.
Nice try, guys. All right, so I just want to thank you all for coming. This is our 5th annual Veterans Symposium. Last year we were unable to meet face-to-face because of COVID. So the students, well, they would probably tell you they lucked out because they had a much smaller crowd and were able to just speak to their classmates. But this year we wanted to be back in the public to share these different stories with you. So just a little bit about how this project got started. Grant Carnes, who is the Williams County Veteran Service Officer in Williston, actually asked if we could do something to start going through and documenting veterans' stories. My husband, who was here to eat, and now he's making sure my car starts because it's cold, actually was part of the reason we got started. I lived the military spouse lifestyle for a few years, and so I understand how valuable it is to have veterans in our family and document their stories. And so I thought, well, hey, I'm always looking to start something new in classes and see what we can do. And in our interpersonal communication classes, we really try to get some good experiences for the students. And so with this, we really thought they would be exercising all of their different experiences that they are learning about and the skills that they're learning about during class. So I do need to give a shout out to Rory Cowan and Tony Freed. They came into class and talked to the students about how to actually do an interview with veterans and what questions are okay and what are off the charts, things we just don't talk about sometimes. And so we had a good discussion, but this has truly been a semester-long project, and so this is their culmination. So if you have a program in front of you, you'll notice we have 24 students. I actually have 2 of them recorded, so I will play them off my phone when it gets to their part. Some of the students do not have a veteran's name listed next to them because the veteran has asked to remain anonymous. For any reason that they've provided, if they didn't want to share their story publicly, we are going to respect that. And so they did work with a student and they provided information, but for a variety of different reasons have chosen to not share that information publicly. Also, on the top of your program, you will notice that there is a link. I put up the students who have veterans listed. Their stories are posted on that, and I noticed today we have officially 138 stories archived over the past 5 years, and so those are just the people who are willing to share them publicly. Over the past 5 years, we've also had veterans who have said thanks because for whatever reason, maybe they didn't talk about their story prior to this, and so now they've shared it with their family. And families have also said thanks because they have those archived and maybe didn't know a lot of those things before. So I think that this project has been very multifaceted, and so what we're gonna do, I'm not gonna come up and introduce each student because I think that it'll just flow better if they go back to back with each other. And then at the end, Brandon Delvo, who actually served as a veteran with one of my students a couple years ago, is going to give some closing remarks. But before we get started, I want to thank you all for coming. And there's lots of chili and cookies and cornbread. So if you're hungry, please don't hesitate to stop in and grab some food. And that goes for you too, students. So if you need some food, please, by all means, go over and grab some. I see a couple are thumbs up, so they must have grabbed it already. So with that, I will introduce Erin, and she is going to be our first student who is going to talk about her veteran.
Grandfather David Klinke joined the U.S. Navy and boot camp. In addition to was deployed first as a I land tracking with their responsibility. Jungle says that's best study. Good evening. During this project, I've learned there is a difference crafted how hard work does where you have gained. When civilians are drafted by they have no say. When a person decides to before I completed this project, after doing this project, I found out that of the test crafting and all depends. I also learned that people strive also no matter how had excelled. When I interviewed my veteran, he had excelled in everything, 5 promotions. That being said, I was shocked that going to Vietnam, I figured since the government would, even though after veterans do understand, still found was denied. Have a greater appreciation for veterans, even though most veterans, there are also some of the people, no matter how big or small, have a veteran. Very veterans adventure. Driven, however, all over the world. Experience the world by this was an able to translate this. It assisted William by helping him and to rise, able to learn best. All people living a better life for them. Listening to his stories, I learned that experience bond people anything else. Miss those people, but not the experience that caused you to bond. I think this is people are more important than what brought them together. Platonic love of a just romantic. This loving friendship can last decades, even when you don't see. Life is an adventure. Follow the road. You meet. Learn from it.
Hello everyone, my name is Marita Bergeron. When you enter this, life will have a way of giving you the option to follow the road you're meant to walk. Wanting to follow his father's footsteps at the age of 16, George had a vocation for the military. Smith is a United States Marine Corps veteran born in the small city of West Covina in Los Angeles, California, in 1960. Smith started his career in the military his year by joining the Army National Guard. He was a part of the split option program, which was high school. Later during the summer, he was sent to Fort Leonard Wood in Missouri. This program, Smith got his first taste of what it would be like to be part of the military, in basic training and 12 Bravo combat and unit. After that, he was part of the National Guard and went on to enlist in the Marine Corps. Smith was sent to boot camp in Santiago and Camp Pendleton, where he spent 3 months in 12 infantry. Afterwards, he was stationed at 29 Palms, California. George's military occupational specialty was 0311 infantry. He enjoyed it because he felt like it brought a lot of different challenges into his career. Being in the Marine Corps was a huge change for Smith, as he was away from his family and traveled the world to places like Thailand, the Philippines, and Japan. But doing the intense rituals that is included in basic training and being deployed, he changed his life for the better. If you know Smith, you know that he's a hardworking man full of maturity. Smith believes that everyone should take part of any branch of the military as a life from a different point of view. He is very thankful he got to experience this and believes he's of his time in the Marines. After 4 years, Smith ended his career and headed back home. Now he lives here in Williston and has his own business. I am very grateful I got to interview Smith. I've had the privilege to know George for the last few years, but interviewing him gave me a different perspective.
Is originally from Beach, North Dakota. He enlisted into the Army in 1971, and after basic training, he got sent to Germany. Seeing new things, especially the German castles, piqued his interest. Before enlisting, he had never left North Dakota before, so that was a substantial change for him. While on base, he was a mechanic and later became a surveyor. He liked surveying because he got to explore and see new things daily. When he was not on guard duty or working, they could take a truck into the city to shop, watch shows, and they'd also see castles too. Holidays made being so far away from home extra hard. He told me leaving Germany was one of the best days of his life. He also mentioned that if he could have redone it, he would have chosen the Air Force instead of the Army. All the Air Force bases he stayed at while surveying were a lot nicer than the Army bases. He says the Army changed who he is today by teaching discipline and mechanical skills that he still uses today. This project was really fun and taught me a lot about my grandpa. I would like to thank him for his service.
Since I was very young, my grandfather. I was curious about what questions about things that he might while I was growing. Part of it. Job. Just 18 months of his service. This time it speaks.
My name is Jaden Lewis, and my veteran speech is about my Uncle John. My Uncle John was a star athlete in high school. He was well academically, but did not know he wanted to major in college. So one of his friends, which is actually my uncle-in-law, Jamie, the veteran too. So him and my uncle, which was St. Robert, Missouri, I'm a veteran. He said the training wasn't hard, it was just very exhausting. And once he finished training, he was sent to Iraq, he was stationed in Iraq, and he was most of the time was a patrolman. And when he went on patrols, he got to study, well not study, but for the sites in Iraq. There's a lot of cities. Most cities he went through were destroyed due to all the bombs and attacks. Most of the kids there weren't afraid because they knew that they were to protect them and help them out. He had to think for kids. So he would steal, well, he wouldn't steal, but he would take some of the snacks from the station and give it to the kids. But one day, he went to this particular town he loved to visit, and it was destroyed. But he saw one of the kids there and took him home. Well, took him to the station and took care of him. Put him out for adoption. He was gently picked up by one of his closest friends, my Uncle Jamie. While he was going through patrol, his ATV was hit by IED, put him through medical separation. Program where if you're injured during an act, you no longer can enlist Army. But he did say that but he did tell me one thing. If he could go back, he would. Having a purpose in life, saving others, is the greatest thing to do. And don't take things for granted because a lot of people don't have it like you do.
My name's Josh. This is what I learned about my veteran. I learned that responsibility and humbleness are what makes a great leader. Responsibility in a leader is vital to their success. Leaders must have the self-motivation to pass their knowledge and support on to their followers. As a sergeant, a leader's main goal is to take care of their soldiers and to complete their tasks. A leader must consider the followers' needs and use their ability to meet those needs. A good leader is also humble. They give their followers credit when things go well and take the blame for when things don't. As a leader, you encounter stubborn, hard-headed people. A leader works through conflicts between them and their follower by asking what is needed of themselves. And that is the duality between the leader and the follower, both different in their role, but both existing to service each other. The leader must admit when they are wrong, because they can be wrong. If a leader cannot listen to their follower, that may be the reason they are. A leader must have these traits: responsibility and humbleness. If a leader does not have these traits, then how can they lead successfully? I learned this from my veteran because he talked a lot about being a sergeant and what it meant to be one. He emphasized what it took to lead a squad and what was needed for task completion, keeping contentment among his group. I'm happy to have had this experience, as I now have a better understanding of what a leader is.
Hello everyone, my name is Sharika. Today I will be. Many people who have gone into the military describe it in ways. Some would say it was traumatizing or stronger. However, for Richard Scott, it was even more elevated. Richard would describe his time in the military as life-saving. He came from Bloomfield, New Mexico, and when he was in high school is when he entered. Since he was still not graduated, he had a delayed entry and proceeded to go into the military in 1990. He flew out of Farming, New Mexico, Albuquerque, and his journey as a. In Albuquerque, Richard got a medical evaluation along with an ASVAB. Once he passed his evaluation, he was put onto a bus and taken to San Diego, California. Upon his arrival, all of Richard's personal items were thrown into a box and taken. His training consisted of 20-mile walks in full gear, field work, and basic gun qualification. He never paid any attention to the food and how it tasted and was just happy to eat. Sometimes Richard would not have any time to eat and was being pulled away for more training. Because of the constant training, Richard and his buddies used the reference duck and eat. After 12 weeks of basic Marine training, Richard was transferred to the School of Infantry in San Diego. At the School of Infantry, Richard also went through combat training. His only thoughts were eating, sleeping, training, and getting the job done. Richard also had met his wife, Joni, while training in San Diego, along with a few other friends he had trained. There was many nights Richard and his buddies standing posts would randomly burst out and sing top hits during the time. They would do this to add a little fun into their long days and make the shift pass by faster. Richard made many friends and still talks to them all today. He said he looks at the Marines as a brotherhood. Any and everyone who is a part of it had an unbreakable bond, part of that. He spent 4 to 5 weeks in infantry school being placed in Murray Island, California. In Murray Island, Richard went through security force training before being stationed in Concord. He was stationed at the Naval Weapons Station. He spent about 2 years at the Naval Station before being transferred to Mullins, California, where he spent the rest of his time. He traveled to Kuwait once to train Kuwaiti soldiers and returned 27 days. His last job was working in the kitchen before being honorably discharged in 1990. He got married to Joni and had 2 kids that he raised with the knowledge that he learned from the military. Richard did not enjoy the training, but would agree that the military had changed him better. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Annika. I had Mark Ryan. Mark Ryan was born in New York in 1960. Mark and Karen Ryan. He grew up participating in military opportunities that were available. He was Air Patrol and became. When Ryan left for basic training, he felt prepared. Waiting for his first deployment, however, brought on feelings of nervousness and unease. You know, Ryan, this is very out of the ordinary. Words like brave, compassionate, sincere, and genuine are just a few many that have been used. His service, lasting from his enlistment at 16 until he was 22, was an intense learning experience. He experienced horrors such as the Ramstein Air Show, International Air Show, put on by the U.S. Air Force, in which aircraft from the Italian Air Force display team collided. They ended in tragedy when aircraft collided mid-flight, one crashing into the crowd of spectators. Ryan recalls how he could working for 2 days straight afterward, cleaning up the aftermath and attempting to reunite people. Ryan also experienced great joys being. As a young man, he was always known for causing trouble, and the memories that came with this drive are just as out-of-hand squadron parties and shooting flares down hallways to rappelling down the outside of his barracks. Rarely ever a dull moment. Ryan is and should be proud of himself and as well as the work he continues to do for the American Legion.
Hello and welcome everybody to Tyler Jones. Individual sister Jaden. Off of that, about being your emotion. And second, it gave her a good opportunity while also serving her. Having listened to the Navy by have you once experienced also state members got off the bus that several miles to barracks carrying a 50 sea bag. Sheltering that while doing that, comrade was sick. Her baby's probably had. Navy officer first 2 weeks while breaking down better. Navy was stationed on horrible living. Every side, whenever asked if she was stressed, there were times she felt high amounts of personal job included when sense any lives depend on her job. Navy forms in her parts talk on the Washington State. Navy now resides in Washington River. There are one boy. Graduated with minors. Portland State University. Raw speech. Not a parent. My name is Connor Perrier, and over the past 6 weeks, through many emails and video calls, I had the honor and the you show me how the military has changed the American citizen. 14 years ago, this brave man entered into friendship that are sure to last. When he joined college dropout, Walmart, he said, I needed to find something I was passionate about. Trial and error along with preparation from his father, having been in for himself, he found the air. He said that he was interested in business. After a long road with many tests and he now feels as though he's found forever home. Having now been in the military for over a decade, I knew that he would have some wise words for me. He said that the best advice he can give, don't do anything dumb, different, or dangerous. After talking with this veteran, I can see how truly blessed he feels to represent the great country that many of us call home. Being an international student, I was unsure to expect when interviewing a veteran from a different country, but he showed me what this country is all about and how he's blessed. My veteran story is not like most. Never been in a warlike setting, because that's what makes this country. We all get to live in a free country, free of war, in a place that is open. He now has a steady job and is doing something he's passionate about. He says that every day he gets to work on something. Although he can't be with us today, I know that the memories that he shared will be by many years to come. And I'm an eternal debt. Years of
Hello, my name is Crystal. World, many people go through a variety of things. No one ever knows. Concerned with it. They enjoyed their entering my veteran was my brother. I need some of the information he I learned a few things that I probably would, such as right after high school in California at just 18, 2003. I wasn't aware any to taught me my brother at all at such a young age was with me. 2011, I became. I was 7 years old when I really have memories around and hearing of my about him, but the only things I knew of him. I would talk much the way he carries himself. I learned that I'd gone through several years of trauma, yet I was never aware. I am now older and look back at the new information. Now with the knowledge that he's all over the world, he would never became. Talking to my this time in it after. I think but not all that. No matter where you are, how you can. In the army and credit, he has experience in different branches. Very different. Sometimes when people don't know a lot about the military, by doing this project, that every veteran has
and experience. We have different bases, jobs, and Marshall was in 2 different branches. Got to see did mostly the same work. Cultures. Second big away from this project, how to try the best out of it. Talking to Marshall, he told stories about every place was so different, but also about the cultures and the people. Sitting down and talking, that no matter where you are or what you in every. These 2 things are just a small part of what being able to sit down and talk with my about his time.
Hello, my name is Nicole Helen, and the vet I got the pleasure of my grandpa, Bob Helen. Helen is a wonderful man that is proud of who he is and what he has done when he served. He grew up in Fortuna, North Dakota, and now lives in Crosby, North Dakota with my grandma. He's an Army vet, and his rate while he was in the Army was a special spy. While interviewing him, I learned so much. There are many things he told me about his experience. Helen was enlisted in 1965 when he was first stationed in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, for his boot camp. After that, he went to Maryland, where he attended the IT school for automotive. While in the Army, he spent a lot of time away from his loved ones, and that he stated that there wasn't many calls or letters. So I asked him what kept him going, and he said his guitar. Not only did he enjoy the guitar, but everyone else around him did as well. Love for music is still very strong. While serving, he stated that it did change him as a person for the good and bad. There are many things that he still uses to this day. Helen served for 3 years and left the Army on April 8, 1960, and his experience when he came back home was something he never would have imagined for the American people. His transition from the Army to coming back to life back home was something he really had to work on. He then went and worked in Williston as a mechanic and then married my grandma a year later, and they are still happily married. After the service, Helen joined the American Legion and has been a proud member for about 50 years. While working on this project and interviewing my grandpa, it really makes me appreciate everything he has done. I am proud to say that my grandpa is my hero.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Jaden Christians. So what I learned from my experience during the Vietnam War, that the U.S. was urgent for more needed troops. Learned that when you are drafted, you have no saying on what you are doing or where you are going. You are also stuck for 2 years on. You go to camps throughout the U.S. to start your training in whatever branch you were chosen to. You go to boot camp, put your MOS and AIT. When you are done and completed with every course that the camp you went to, you are off to the mission to help willingly or not. In some circumstances, depending on your training, you completed. You could be posted and you stay on base all day, or you can be thrown. You can also do certain tasks that could possibly reduce the time that you were serving. While overseas, sometimes you see the worst things, sometimes you don't. When you are done serving with your time, you go back home and live the happy life you want.
My name is Evan Kaiser. I am my papa, RB Life. Harvey was drafted in January of 1968 at the age of 18. Went to Fort Lewis, Washington for basic training. Spent 1 year in July in the served in the Army for Sergeant Delta Company 4th Battalion, 1st Light Infantry Brigade. These are just while he and his squad were going up a hill, when a Vietcong ambush at the top of the base. Fire. They took cover and called in their location for. While they were waiting for artillery, firefight ensued. Harvey had back. Get back into the fight, he had to swing his leg into the air on the way to. At the same time, a young soldier. When he swung his leg in the air, it blew. After his continued to fight until due to the injury he gained in combat. Another medal Harvey was. One of these missions, the helicopter they had gotten off got kept. As the helicopter took off, it flipped over and exploded just. The explosion sent chunks of the rotor narrowly Harvey trunk head. This is just a fraction of what he had done. Hard to imagine what else he almost 50 apart. It's hard to comprehend fighting communism. I'm thankful for him.
Good afternoon, everyone. Evening, everyone. My name's Kelly. I'm in class. This project I was fortunate and most grateful to older sister. So the face-to-face calls I've encountered get him on really cool. I learned what she had to do with Army Guard, what sacrifice. It is currently a part where she is a sergeant and also has a description follows that enabled. Obviously, with such high commitment, the rules and one rule that did surprise me was no tattoos. No tattoos. They also shared another requirement was the fitness test, which I feel like personally everyone can relate to. Kate shared that they had to run 2 miles and their time was divided in 3 areas: moderate and heavy. Additionally, her preparation was a total of 6 months. 6 months on the boot and she said that boot camp wasn't too difficult, it was just another challenge to grow mentally strong. Persevered with her members she enlisted, understanding their strengths and weaknesses. AIT school, on the other hand, was where she really got to understand the mechanics of being an engineer, learning how to build roads for constructed work, and alongside with operating and creating machinery such as scrapers and graders, actually knowing how to build and make it all into one. Like I mentioned earlier, I continue to learn of Kate joining the Montana National Army Guard. It taught me that whatever field you go through, there will always be adversity, regardless of the. Kate told me that she would never have made the friendship as with the people. She shared it's been a real eye-opener and it's made it where she is today. I would also like to thank the veterans here today for giving us your time and permission to teach us, letting us know what you went through to make the people around you safe. So, thank you to the past, present, and soldiers who choose to protect and serve their country.
Hello, my name is Molly Osheim, and I'll be friend Clifton. Born in Hardin, Montana on October, raised on his uncle's cattle ranch. He enlisted in the United States in October 1980. 24 days after his he served active duty for 2 years and inactive reserve for another. He earned his high school diploma while serving. Graduated from Marine Corps Recruit and Infantry Training School, Southern California. Learned to fight, service, and win in combat. His military occupation was demolitions anti-tank 03. They were tasked with breaching demolition rocket fire against my position. After his training, Cowboy was stationed not served during a war or official conflict. However, in 1982, he was deployed in the bouncing from island to island, extensive hands-on anti-terrorist training, where he stabbed 7 times in accident. Cowboy spent most of his time at the naval base in Norfolk, where he enjoyed participating in honor guard duty, 21-gun salutes, and serving as an escort. He was given the honor of escorting President Ronald Reagan on a visit to Norfolk in 1980. Cowboy feels that the men he met while serving in the Marine Corps will always be his brothers. He worked hard but played harder, suffering a gunshot wound to his leg and a fractured skull during 2 separate off-base bar fights. The Marine Corps gave Cowboy a great work ethic, taught him teamwork, loyalty, and compassion. He believes serving his country makes a better person in his world. Cowboy told me that once a Marine, always a Marine. Next Marine. Transitioning to civilian life was challenging. I did not know what. When in the military, you are not your own person. You not have to worry about housing or your next meal. Not even have to think. Just take order. Job in the military provides for you. When asked if serving was hard on him, he said, no, I loved it. I had doubt. After being discharged, Cowboy moved back to Montana, and where he got his nickname on the road because he always wore a cowboy hat and had license cowboy. Last one. Worked on as an oil tank builder in the United States. Lives in Highlands. Closer to his
Hello, I'm Alex Bailey, and learned a lot during this project and talking to my veteran. I have never sat down with a veteran and went into detail about what serving all entails. Being able to sit down with my veteran and learn what the time was like, very interesting. First thing I learned was how proud most veterans about their service, and the second thing I took away from that no 2 veterans have the same experience. While doing this project and talking to my veteran, I learned how proud he was of serving. Talked about what it takes to serve and what all goes into it, and what he was proud and willing to talk. All the time we spent talking about his time, he was always willing to answer any questions I had and talking about his experience. I learned a lot in this project. I didn't know what I would learn or take from this. I learned a lot about our veterans and what experiences while serving. I am very happy.
My name is Logan, and I'm a pleasure veteran. Ran his time. Navy from December 27th, January 1st. First started as RT. Joined the Navy. Online, a family in the military, and he was a way for him to job or pay. In the Navy, he forgot to experience. The game is played every time the ship. Someone on the ship has never done. Not a normal game by any means, like a rite of passage. The ship is going across the border every sail back hard. Have one, you're going. Games are a lot like an obstacle course. While the rest of the crew find it. Old food from leather strips. Nothing is off limits. Everyone and anyone have to play, no matter their rank. Once you complete the games, have your card. Advice I would give you. You're going to think. Love a trick. They will teach you. You can use it. You'll learn to compromise a lot about your ability. Right while you're there, go by fast. Said you'll need to learn conflict resolution every waking moment. Stay.
Hi, my name is Ryan Penner. I learned a lot about this project. One of the things that stuck with me a little more was learning the differences between there's a lot of similarities, different examples, different places they deployed to are different. Canada, they deployed to Afghanistan, and America. Per capita, the number of Canadians is a lot lower than America. Another thing that I learned about Canada, I have a military school, and very similar to college, other than the fact that you were learning about leadership and respect, and about the military, stuff like that. During the summers, they also have the choice to stay there and start their training early, and get ahead.
Nation which forgets its defenders will itself be forgotten. These words were spoken by Calvin Coolidge in 1920. It's important for us to understand less than 1% of Americans stand ready to defend us and our liberty. Recently, I've had the privilege to sit down with one of those defenders, Adam Mullins, an Army veteran, and I got a glimpse of what it was like for him. Like a good soldier should, Mullins met the challenges and demands of his time in the service and his reentry head on and resolve. Today, I would like to share with you about his enlistment, his training, his return to civilian life. Beginning with his enlistment in 2011, at 24, he had a wife. He was tired of what the regular 9-to-5 offered. He saw the great opportunity as the United States Army. He enlisted and headed off to the Army's infantry school at Fort Georgia. There, Mullins trained to be primary corps, preparing for combat by operating weapons and equipment to engage with the enemy at close range. This job of infantryman is typically considered to be the most psychologically stressful and physically demanding military. The ongoing conflict in the Middle East, it was not a surprise to Mullins to receive orders to deploy. Just 1 short week, her second daughter was born. Specialist team leader Adam Mullins arrived in the province, Afghanistan in March of 2013. Suicide bombs, suicide bombers, and children thrown kind of things waiting they needed for. Mullins and his units sanctioned covered ground and to maintain security 24/7. From securing weapons and performing or dismounted patrols to ensure no enemy forces were setting up new positions, machine gun nets outside Fort Shank, to providing security from and during supply conflicts. For a time, they were posted near Tangi Valley spot for insurgents. He said to me this was the easy part. Wake up, do your mission, and you pray. Just the same, after an 8-month, he was happy to see his wife and daughters in person. Returning to the States, Mullins remarks that people seem to look at him differently. Like they want to ask questions but are afraid to. The rest of his time in the military was filled with and training until he made the change back to civilian life. Readjusting to civilian life is not always a simple task. The strict routine and hard demeanor to adopt to survive combat takes time to unlearn. While his time in combat is over, his defenses sometimes still return there. He must resist returning to that hardness and that type of self-preservation. Today, Mullins still works hard for his family. His training is lasting and with life skills, training, and experience has influenced all of them. In conclusion, the different challenges he faced varied greatly in each phase of his time in the Army. And as you can see, Adam Mullins met the challenges and demands of his service and his reentry on and with resolve. I appreciate you allowing me to share a little bit about his enlistment and training, his return to civilian life. Please, take time to remember the defenders of this nation, our veterans, with reverence and appreciation of their sacrifice.
So now we are going to hear a few closing remarks from Brandon Doble.
Can everybody hear me okay? All right, cool. Yeah, I have prepared remarks too, so even all these years out of school, I still type up remarks myself. But thank you all for coming tonight, and also those that are tuning in to us through YouTube right now. Thank you for being patient and kind of managing some of the sound difficulties we've been having. It's just part of the new normal. We just deal with technology as it comes with us. So kind of some takeaways from tonight. So I was a 2019 participant of this project, and I was just really impressed with all the work that Kim and everybody that's helped to get this together and to keep this going over the years have done to help, veterans feel comfortable in sharing their stories. Because, I mean, as many of you probably noticed, giving some of your veterans experiences, whether it's combat related or not, at times can be very tough. And one big takeaway I noticed tonight is, just compared to when I did it in 2019, is we have no World War II veterans told their stories. I know Korean stories. We're seeing that transformation we have for about the past 2 decades now. That generation between World War II pass away, which is really unfortunate. And I'm also a avid reader of military history. I'm also a history major from the University of Jamestown. And just to make a little history plug, I mean, you know me, I like to make a history plug. Tomorrow's the 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. I mean, that's a pretty monumental date. I mean, the closest thing we have is 9/11. And you got to hear some of those stories from a lot of our War on Terror veterans. Myself, I'm a War on Terror. But I was raised on a lot of these stories. For those of you that are from the local area, my grandfather would take me every Sunday. I'd spend every Sunday with my grandfather up on the farm south of Grenora. And it was every Sunday, it was a tradition, we would go to the Bethel home. And I got to hear a lot of these stories. Gentleman that fought with the 164th, those of you that don't know, was the National Guard unit at the time. Besides the Marines being the first to go in on Guadalcanal, they were the first Army unit to engage the Axis in World War II. Our very own North Dakota guys. Guys that were fighter pilots, guys that had fought on the big ships, the battleships in World War II. So I was raised on a lot of those stories and really learned at an early age the appreciation of those that had served before us. So for me, at the age of 17, when 9/11 took place, it was a no-brainer for me that I wanted to serve as well. And I have a story just like all those of you that have shared yours, and I'm proud to have been a part of this project at one time. And I really hope to see it continue and grow over time. And I've I've told other veterans, and I know some of those, I recognize some of you here that have also done the same, keep this project going. But one thing I can maybe make as an ask out of each and every one of you, you can take anything away from this besides the appreciation of those that have served and have come before you, is to get involved in some way, not just in the community, but with those veteran organizations. You don't have to be a veteran per se to be involved in the American Legion. Have the Legion on. Go and ask your veteran service officer, Grant Carnes here in town, if there's anything you can help. Get involved with your military affairs committee. That's one way of maybe taking those words and putting them into some actions to take that just one step farther. So with that, I just want to thank you all for coming tonight. I want to thank the students for sharing their stories. By all means, that chili back there is delicious along with the cornbread. So please take as much of it as you can, and a big shout out to the folks that prepared that tonight. And thank you, Kim. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming tonight.